Callie. I am the owner and baker of When I Rise Baking Company here in Hilliard. This is the blessing that I really didn't ask for. It's kind of a funny story. I was never good at baking. I was not, so many bakers I know were like, oh, I've wanted to own a bakery since I was a little girl. And that was not me. I was the person that burnt the brownies and brought the dry cupcakes and really wanted to be a good baker for a while, but eventually just accepted that I'm not good at that. And that's okay, I'm good at other things. It's funny because I did find myself in a position where I didn't know what my career future would look like. There was actually a very emotional day where I was sitting on the floor of my kitchen and crying out to God, like, what plan do you have for me? I don't know where I'm supposed to go from here. And it was, looking back now, it was like a week later that I started baking sourdough for fun with clearly no intentions of it being a thing. I just didn't want to screw it up on day one, was my only objective. God really used that to point me in the direction He wanted me to go in. I think He knows that I'm a planner and I'm a little bit of a control freak and I like to have everything planned in my life, and this was one thing I didn't have planned. He knows me well enough to know that the only way I'm going to let go of that control is to call me to something that I'm not good at on my own, that I really need His help with. So I'm just following God's path for me, and this is where He's brought us. So I started my business in early 2024, so a little over a year ago. Started baking about a year before that, so I wasn't too experienced, but God opened doors for me to step into growth and to really start the business when that wasn't what I expected. I just followed His lead and it became something that I didn't expect. So I'm full-time with the business now. I have a business degree, but I was actually an event coordinator for several years after college, and then stayed home with my kids full-time for a few years, and just slowly started into this. I'm not from Hilliard or this area, but I connected with an old friend from childhood when my business first started. He started buying some of my sandwich bread and my muffins, which were like the only 2 items on my menu at the time. That's when I started considering, well, maybe I should take some of my products to some local places in town. And I didn't know you and Sharon at the time. But I knew that I loved to come here and I love to bring my kids here. So I stopped some of my products off at the counter, and Sharon got back with me later that day and she said, my friend was just telling me about your muffins yesterday. And that was that old friend that I had connected with from my childhood. Years ago, we had connected just in time for me to drop things off that next day. So very cool coincidence. Between 60 to 120 loaves of bread every week, just depends on what we have going on. It's taken over the house. When I say a home bakery, I mean it's a whole home bakery at this point. We've got our own little bakery space in the house because it's quite the production. Right now, it's really great that I can do it from my home because I have little kids, and I love the flexibility of being home with them, but still having something for me that helps other people in the community. We do have a 3 to 5 year goal that we're praying about to hopefully have a brick and mortar building and be able to bring more bread than what we can make in my home oven to Hilliard. So we'll see where that leads. I had this idea when my business started exploding out of nowhere, it felt like. All of my customers were picking up their orders on my front porch, and it was getting to be so many customers that I knew it wasn't really convenient for them to come into my neighborhood to pick up their bread. And also, I mean, today's world, it felt a little unsafe to have so many people coming and going from my home with little kids and everything. So I actually sat down with Sharon on the patio, told her my vision for this bread box that I wanted to call it, that could be a place that was where all of my customers could come and pick up their orders. That was convenient for them, could handle a lot of orders. And I was just asking her for connections because you guys are great at that. And I'm like, somebody's gonna know, she's gonna know somebody that can help me with this. Totally unexpected, she said, well, why don't you just put it right here? And that thought hadn't even crossed my mind, but what a perfect solution. And so we worked with Andrew, and he built the whole bread box, and it has been such a blessing. It's been sitting there for 6 months now, and my customers love picking up here because it's convenient, brings more people to Old Hilliard, and it also introduces them to coffee connections if they've never been here before. A lot of people started making sourdough during COVID, and it is very funny because anytime I talk about my sourdough business with someone that doesn't necessarily know me and my story, they're like, oh, so you're one of those that started in COVID. It really brought out a lot of good things, right? It was years after that, like a year or two after that, that I started baking. So I mean, COVID really impacted my family, but in different ways. My daughter was born in August of 2020, so it was an interesting year to have a baby, that's for sure. Yeah, at the time, my husband was a PT in a nursing home, and I worked in a daycare part-time, so there was no work from home in either of those careers, and we were pregnant and did not expect to go through labor with a mask on. Didn't have that on my checklist, but all these things that were very unexpected, but a lot of growth and a lot of perspective from that time. It's kind of funny how we ended up in Hilliard. It was kind of by chance. We actually lived on the west side of Ohio, and I was at the point where I was leaving a current job, and my husband was getting transferred through his company, not even all the way to Columbus. He was transferred about halfway to Columbus, but we always wanted to end up somewhere here. We just took ourselves on a little tour around all the suburbs of Columbus, and I remember driving through Old Hilliard, which this is 7 years ago, so it wasn't what it is today, but I still was drawn to it, and I thought, you know, what a cool community, and there's lots of cool communities in the area, but Hilliard really stuck out to us, and we didn't know anybody here, but we decided to plant our family here, and now I understand why, because I see how much it has grown into a home for me and my business, and how the opportunities here and at Coffee Connections have really taken me places that I probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere else.